Hi, and today we're going to talk about the flowchart. So, what exactly is a flowchart? A flowchart is a visual tool used to plan and show the steps of a programming task. It displays the process through series of operations in a simple, easy to understand diagram. A flowchart helps explain an algorithm's steps more clearly than longer text. An algorithm is just a set of steps to solve our problem. So this is the example of a flowchart. As you can see, there's a photo of the flowchart, right? Here's another example of a flowchart. Start, get the key, turn on the engine, hop in, drive, get to the destination, and end. These are a simple example of what is a flowchart. Types of flowcharts. So we're going to talk about what are the types of flowcharts. First is data flowchart. This flowchart focuses on how information moves around. It shows where the data comes from, how it gets processed, and where it goes. It's useful for understanding how data is handled in a system or apps. So as I said, this flowchart focuses on information and moves around. Another example is the decision flowchart. A decision flowchart is used when there are choices to make. It shows the it, else, or yes or no decision that affects how the process moves forward, like choosing the next step based on certain conditions. The process flowchart. This flowchart shows the steps in a process one after another. It's great for showing things work, like how tasks are done in a business or how software works. It helps you understand the order of tasks and how they load to the next one. So, like other flowcharts, it is also a process. Here are some examples of common symbol flowcharts. An oval represents start and end, an arrow represents arrows, a parallelogram represents input and output, a rectangle represents process, and a diamond represents decision. Terminal is the oval. The terminal symbol is used to mark the start and end points of a flowchart. In other words, every flowchart should begin and end with this symbol. For our discussion, we will use labels like start to indicate the beginning and stop to show the end, and return for returning to a previous step of function. The arrow symbol, the flow line. A flow line is used in a flowchart to show the direction of the process. It helps the reader understand the order of steps by showing where the flow is going. The flow line or arrowheads are usually used together to point in the right direction, making it clear how the steps connect and follow each other. They are not separated in practice as they work together to guide the reader through the flowchart. The parallelogram or the input-output. This shape is used to represent input and output operations in a flowchart. It shows where data is coming from, input, or going so, output, and also links the devices involved in the process. The input symbol helps visualize the flow of data and indicates which device is handling the data during processing. Process or the rectangular shape. A process symbol is used to represent operations like arithmetic, calculations, or when assigning values to variables. This rectangular shape is the most commonly used symbol in flowcharts as it shows actions or tasks that need to be performed in the process. Lastly, the decision or diamond. A diamond, also known as the decision symbol, is used to show a decision point in a flowchart. It appears when there is a conditional statement like asking a yes or no question or checking if something is true or false. The flowchart will then branch based on the outcome of the decision. This is the examples of a flowchart. This picture right here shows a flowchart which has two arrowheads, the no and the yes. Next up shows a pseudocode which we will tackle on the next video. This is the next step of the flowchart. The symbols in the flowchart are labeled with words and details that should be followed throughout the entire flowcharting process. This label will help guide and clarify the meaning of each symbol as you create the flowchart. As you can see, there's a symbol and there's a name beside it. As I said before, the oval is the representing the start and end, the arrow represents the arrow, input, output, process, and so on. The following labels will help us identify the devices that act as channels for directing input and output during processing. These labels clarify which devices are involved in handling the data. Statement and description. Input: when data is keyed in from the keyboard. Read: when data is retrieved from disk storage. Write: when data is stored on disk storage. Print: when the result is sent to the printer. Display: when the output is displayed on the screen. These are the description of this. We also tackle about logical symbols like less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. are used to perform compound evaluations in a flowchart. These operations allow for multiple conditions to be tested at once, enabling automatic jumps. This breaks the usual rule of having only one condition per decision symbol in a flowchart. The flowchart shows how an input-output symbol works, illustrating how data is received or sent through a device during the process. So as you can see from the example in the right top of your screen. Here are some examples of the flowchart. That's all for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot from me today. Stay tuned for the next video. Don't forget to subscribe and press the like button.